Hello, hi, and welcome to another episode of From Bedroom to Boardroom. Today's a very special episode, a different episode, I guess, because it's actually our birthday. Well, tell a lie, it's a day after our birthday, I guess. Listen, our birthday was the 5th of March, and I'll explain why I'm a bit confused about that in a second, but we are 8 years old, give or take. I have been in business for 8 years. 8 years to the day I said goodbye to the safety, or quote unquote safety, around employment and being an employee, and I got to business. I got to work. And 8 years, it's a long time, and I'm so excited and so happy. I may not sound excited. It's genuinely because at the time of recording this, I'm really confused as to when our birthday was. I had it down in my diary for the 6th of March, okay? But that doesn't sound right, and I'll explain why. I've just checked, and it's potentially the 5th of March. But look, there's going to be some discrepancies when we get 8 years into business, okay? And who's going to be checking this? Who's going to be checking this? Because it even gets more complicated. Because actually, when you check our sort of official inception date, when you check our company house registration date, I registered the business in February of 2018. I think it could have been like around the first week of February, but I didn't actually start working until... could be the 5th, could be the 6th of March, who knows? But listen, 8 years in business is a long time. And I still, to this day, remember the day when I started the business. And I'll tell you a little bit about that story in a moment. But allow me, if I may, to tell you a bit about this podcast. My name is Rob Spence, an internationally renowned sales trainer, a multi-award winning business owner, entrepreneur with a number of businesses based out of Leicestershire in England. And this podcast is the podcast that is designed to be unwritten. It's the podcast that's been planned to be unplanned. I run, I host, I produce a number of podcasts, and this one, I guess, and you can probably pick up on that, is completely unplanned. I don't really sit down and say, look, this is what I'm going to say, this is how I'm going to say it, this is the main messaging. The intention around this podcast is I guess, to give me a place where I can be myself, where I can talk openly to you, where you can take on my stories, my advice, I'll use the word wisdom, and we can talk together. And look, to some degree, it's actually a podcast for me where I can talk openly about what's going on in the business world, because if you are in business, you know how lonely it can be, especially if you are in any form of leadership position, whether you're a CEO, an MD, a team leader as well, to some degree. You can feel awfully lonely, and this is my space where we get to talk. But listen, we are 8 years. Apologies, you may have just heard my phone there. We are 8 years in business today, or yesterday, or the day before, or tomorrow. But we are 8 years in business, and I'm so happy and thankful. When I set the business up, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how that came about. I guess I never thought this far ahead. There was no real business plan, and there certainly wasn't a business plan to take us 8 years into business. So just to fill you in some gaps here, I was a sales and marketing manager, and I loved my job. I loved my career, and I genuinely miss it. I miss the people. I miss the customers. I miss the products and service I used to sell. I miss the industry. I used to sell fine food and ingredients to hotels, Michelin star places, TV places, up and down the country. And I'd been with that company, I think I'd been in the sales and marketing position for coming up to 8 years. I'd had a number of other roles within the business for another couple of years on top of that. So I'd worked in the warehouse, been the warehouse supervisor, looked after health and safety and policies and processes for the company. But I really found my feet in the sales world, and I really developed a great career within the company. Now, and I know I've spoken about it before, when I was in that company, I kind of invented a position for myself, not, again, by purpose, not on purpose. I just wanted more. I could have easily, my role to some degree was just, and I'll use the word just a telesales agent. I was a telemarketer, I was a telesalesperson, making sales calls, and it could have just stayed that way. And I decided I wanted more. I decided that there was more, that there's potentially more that I could potentially do. And so I studied, I spent a lot of time researching sales. I went to webinars, seminars, talks, I read books on sales. I did everything I could about sales. And it was at that same time I was really growing my personal brand. My personal brand was something that I researched and studied, profusely, and about the importance of it. And I set about and developed my own personal brand. Now that personal brand again did incredibly well, to the point where I recall, and that personal brand, just to put into real basic terms, is basically I set up a Twitter account where I became, Rob at Ritter, as it were. And I was, really growing the brand of the company that I was representing. Their marketing was very old, very, it was in the dark ages, dare I say. And so I thought, look, let's get on Twitter and build this personal brand. And I was getting far more impressions, far more engagement, far more inquiries to me personally than the company was. And I remember there was an AGM for this company going on, and I wasn't one of the fortunate ones to attend. Some of the people above me were, and I was getting messages going, Rob, they're talking about you. Rob, they're talking about you. Then they started showing me photos of like slides of me on this board. And I was like, oh shit. And anyway, I thought I was going to get the sack for doing all this, because it wasn't signed off. I didn't say to my business, hey, I want to do this. I just fucking did it. And lo and behold, they came at me and said, look, we want to create this position for you. And I became this kind of sales and marketing lead, this sales and marketing trainer, as it were. So along the marketing side, the business had seen what I'd done from a marketing perspective and put me in charge of all the marketing elements for the business. But then also they'd seen the sales that I'd generated over at our depot in Leicester, and seen how well we'd generated more sales up in Leicester, and they wanted us to replicate that, or I guess for want of a better term, wanted me to replicate that in the other businesses, in the other offices. And so my job became that of a kind of internal sales trainer and a bit of a marketeer, going to different depots and trying to take out the successes that we had in Leicester and put them into the other depots. And again, so I feel like I'm going from pillar to post here, and this is probably why these should maybe have a bit more of a plan to them. But we were seeing results where we were sort of year on year, 40%, 50% up, year on year, month on month. Other depots are getting 3-4%, right? And it got pinpointed that it was because of me and the efforts that I was putting in, the processes I was putting in. So listen, anyway, long story short, I loved my job. I was going up and down the country, visiting other depots, training individuals on different sales techniques, putting into place the processes that I'd put into Leicester, and doing the marketing work. And it was at a time when the company had a couple of corporate buyouts, I should say. And so the small business that I'd come to love had soonly, slowly gone. It was also at a time when my first book on sales got published. Now, I wrote and published my first book on sales called Relationship Selling back in the late 2017. No, tell a lie, early 2017. And I was getting loads of inquiries from people asking for help and support with their sales, with their marketing. And I remember it was kind of just before Christmas, probably not too long after my birthday, sort of November, December 2017. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't work here anymore. Like say, I think I was one of the old guard that the corporate heads wanted to manage out anyway. But I was also at a stage where I was, 27, I think I was. And I wanted more. I knew I could do more. The business that I was working with had given me lots of opportunities, but I think for me, I needed to spread my wings. And I didn't, weirdly, and this is going to sound really weird, I didn't necessarily have the confidence to sort of to kind of go get a job. I didn't know whether I'd be good enough, so I started a business, which sounds ironic in its own right. And so I handed my notes in. I handed my notes in. I gave the company 3 months. And that 3 months gave me the chance to build a business. And that business is now 8 years old, which is insane. So I remember I spent those 3 months talking to people, networking a bit, sort of growing my personal brand a bit further, letting people know about what my intentions were, building a bit of a client base. I was very clever in all of that, I guess. And it was the start of March 2018 when I sat at the desk and started work. Now, and again, this is where the discrepancy is, because I believe it was the first Monday of March when I started work. Now, when I've looked back on the diary, that falls on the 5th, but some posts over the years, for some reason, I've noted it as the 6th. So look, it's either the 5th or 6th of March 2018, and look, that was a really scary day. I literally, although I had the 3 months to plan and prepare, I'd got, this desk in the corner of my bedroom that was already there. I had this iMac in the corner of my bedroom. And over those 3 months, I'd developed a website, developed the social media, developed a client base. So I was already kind of finding that bite point, I guess, on your clutch. I was nearly there, nearly there. But that first day, I remember, you wake up and there's that intrepidation, there's that panic, that excitement as well, because I wasn't going to work. And you got to remember there's two emotions that went with all of this. I'd said goodbye to my work on the Friday, which, I assume was, Friday the 28th of February or something. Had a weekend. And then on the Monday, I was starting a new job. And that new job was my business. And actually, when I think about it now, I can nearly cry, actually, thinking about how that mix of emotion was there. And I've never truly reflected on that. That's madness, I've never truly reflected on that. And I remember, I got my stuff ready in the morning, obviously no longer needed to commute. And I sat there and I remember sitting at my desk. I made a point of no matter, it's going to be 8:30 till 5. I'm going to keep with this rhythm that I've already got. And I sat there thinking, well, what now? What next? And I can't tell you what I did that day. I cannot tell you what I did that day. I can't. I remember I had a phone call from an old business contact of mine on the landline that I'd put into place at, sort of 9 a.m. just to wish me luck. And I was like, I needed that. Thank you so much. But that was it. I can't tell you what I did that day. And actually, I'll tell you what, let me look in my diary for that day. Let me see if there's anything there. Let's have a little scan. And I'm getting this weird flood of emotion right now as we talk about it. But so March the 5th. So I think I had a meeting at 9 with a photographer friend to talk about some work. I had a call at 2 with one of my clients back then, and then a face-to-face meeting at 7. And that's all. That's all I can see, to be fair. So yeah, wow. I'm getting this flood of emotions, but I guess the point I need to talk about, and I do need to dash in a moment, so I won't keep you too long. 8 years has bloody well flown by. Was there a plan? No. Was there a business plan? Absolutely not. Was there money? No. I famously put into a business bank £500, and that was it. And that's all I had. But what I did have was hard work, some strong work, and some strong desire to make it work as well. So listen, we are 8 years in business. I will be putting out some official videos. On the Paragon Sales Solutions channels over the coming days. So keep an eye on those. I may also be putting some other notes out on my Substack and across some of my other platforms as well. So keep a check on them. I don't really want to repeat, what will be said on there, what I have said on there, what I will say on there. What I will say is this. Two things. One, I want to thank you. If you've shown me any support, if you have shown me any willingness to support me, my business over the past 8 years, I'm genuinely so thankful. That could be as small as liking a post. That could be as small as sharing one of the posts. That could be you listening to this podcast today. If you've shown me or any of my businesses any support in the slightest, I thank you, because it's those thanks that really, really make a difference. And to any small business owner, you will know what difference that makes. Again, on the flip side of that, I want to thank you if you've hated me or doubted me, because it's that hate and doubt that's really spurred me on and pushed me on. But again, thank you either way. If you are starting a business or considering starting a business, you'll know that flood of emotions that come with starting a business and how scary, how exciting, how nerve-wracking, how anxiety-riddling it can be. What I will say to you is this: keep pushing. If you truly believe in your product or service, keep pushing with it. Keep pushing with it. If you believe in it. My pieces of advice, very, very quickly, are this. Don't wait for that perfect opportunity. There is no such thing as a perfect opportunity, right? Just bloody well do it. The time is right when it's your time. Just do it. Don't think, oh, the markets aren't right, oh, there's this, oh, I've got to wait for this. Just do it. My other advice is quit. Quit work. Don't try and start a business on the side of work, because you will always be protected by that safety net. One of the things that made my business so successful is I quit. I made no money, and I made sure that I could only make money by working hard. I put £500 in a business account. I had enough savings to last 1 month of mortgage, gas, rent, everything else in between. Pull away that safety net and just bloody well do it. I'd say be prepared to work hard. Be prepared to work long hours. It's not going to be easy. And I think my final piece of advice is don't chase the money. If you ever start a business because you think that there is gap in the market, if you're starting a business just to make money, if you're starting a business because you want money, it will fail. Start a business out of passion. Start a business out of desire. Start your business out of fixing a problem. I trust me. Like, I assure you, if you fix a problem first, if you help people first, the money will come thereafter. But listen, I need to dash because I've got some appointments to get to, and I've no doubt you do as well. Again, I want to say a massive thank you for all of the support in this business for the past 8 years. I cannot wait to share with you what's going to happen over the next 12 months. We've got some exciting things planned, and I can't wait to be sat down with you on our 9th birthday, on our 10th birthday, on our 90th birthday. I cannot wait to share that with you. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you have yet to like or subscribe to this podcast, please do. Hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button wherever you're getting this content from. As I said earlier, businesses thrive on support, and just hitting that little button, trust me, makes me feel all giddy and warm inside and allows me to really double down on what we're doing here. So please hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. If you want to hear more about the birthday, maybe help me relive some memories, do make sure you're following some of my other social media profiles. Find me anywhere on social media. I'm Rob Spence, or of course you can follow Paragon Sales Solutions or Paragon Creative Studios. You'll see some bits about our birthday there. But listen, I'm off to celebrate. I'm going to go get some cake. I hope you have the most incredible of days, no matter whatever it is you're doing. And until next time, all the best. This podcast was brought to you by Paragon Creative Studios, a full in-house production team based in the heart of the countryside in Leicestershire. Not only do Paragon Creative Studios have podcast production studios available to hire per hour, but we have a full in-house team that can help you write, produce, record, and distribute your podcasts all under one roof. If this is the year that you want to start your own podcast, then do get in touch with Paragon Creative Studios. Just give them a search online, head on over to paragoncreativestudios.co.uk or check out the link in the comments below for your free consultation.